All right, we are live for the 47th episode of the
Let's Go podcast. We're back, and I want to shout out my father, actually, and also my brother Harry for pointing out that we skipped episode 47. So even though we've already done 48 and 49, we're now going retroactive on Freya back to 47. We're here once again with the legendary Steve Pollan,
Hall of Famer,
who recently witnessed his son play a pretty decent game, but unfortunately fall in our HSL basketball league. We were zocha to have Steve Pollan together with Mr. Doob, the legend, who I can't believe I didn't know who he was prior, in the house for our game. So we can't wait to hear about that, and also the upcoming Bombers Revenge Year is what they're calling it this spring. You never thought you would hear those words, Bombers Revenge, but
We've had Bombers
time, so.
we've had Bombers revenge years in the past, and it worked out pretty well for us. So God willing, it'll keep working out.
All right, take it away.
Well, first of all, I have to say we did the podcast with Caleb like 6 weeks ago, and he did it from his car. And I think Steve was feeling a little insecure, so that his son might have a better car than he does. So he's also doing it from the car, unless Caleb was driving your car. I don't know.
He was driving my car, and now I'm in my wife's car. So
okay, but it looks similar, right?
maybe I don't know. Maybe he was driving this car that time. No, I think he was driving my car.
They both had the. I think they both
Sunroof.
had the sunroof.
Yeah.
So there's a full sunroof. There's no.
He was in the Tesla. Okay.
Yeah.
Caleb's a great kid. We had a good time with him. But first, let's talk about the. Well, it wasn't the Bombers. It was the CBS Alliance loss to the CTC to the great the best softball player in the history of softball, Archie Eichhorn. We had on the podcast.
Just ask him; he'll tell you he is.
I don't know. So we got his side of the story, and I guess we want to hear your side of the story, Steve. Was CBS Alliance simply overmatched against the Archie Eichhorn led CTC?
No, so listen, they won. They beat us fair and square. They beat us badly fair and square, both games. They are well-deserved champions. But I feel confident with that team. If we play them again, we fare far better. They got us on our bad nights, and we got them on their good nights. Yossi pitched great. They played flawless defense, and as you know, defense and pitching is, I think, 80% of it, maybe more, in these kind of games when you have such good teams and lineups. And Yossi didn't walk anybody. He didn't make any mistakes. They got big outs when they needed to. I think our approaches were not great at the plate. We definitely did not pitch the way we normally pitch. I felt myself and Ash, both of us, did not have our best games. Probably one of our, collectively our worst games. And defensively, we didn't play great. So you don't do those things, you're not going to win. And our team's great. They're stacked. We have great players. And I would feel very confident going to war with those guys again against that team. They're a great team also, but I'd be happy
Bobby,
to give.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve.
I'd be happy to run it back, and we're going to run it back. We're going to run it back in the fall and the spring with the Bombers. I had a conversation with Seth Fishman the other day, and Seth is super focused on running it back and making sure the Bombers take what's rightfully ours and changing this narrative of the dominance of the Archie Eichhorn led whatever the team's name is today.
Well, in the spring, it's been called King Ventures. I messaged Seth the other day, I think yesterday. I messaged him the flyer, and I wrote underneath it #RevengeYear, and I got blue checked. So I don't know if that meant that he was maybe feeling so adamant he didn't want to run it back. But now I'm glad to know the.
Seth's been busy. He's actually just went to Israel. He's going to be in Israel the next couple of months. He has 2 kids there. One of them, God willing, is going to have a baby soon. So he's enjoying life.
Oh wow, very nice.
Yeah.
Shatova. So Avi, you did your usual status play-by-play of Game 2, the one that Ash pitched. Did you do that for Game 1, or you weren't there?
I did it for Game 1. I was there.
Oh, I missed it. For some reason, I didn't miss it. So what the final score? They won that game handily, also.
It was a lot closer than the final score. Basically, it was. We were up, I think, 2-1 or early in the game. The turning point of the game was a bases loaded, 2-2 count, 2-2 count. I forgot who was up. and I think the game was tied at that point. And I threw a pitch that I thought was a strike. Feldberg thought it was a strike. I think the batter thought it was a strike, and the umpire just missed it. And then the next pitch I missed, and I walked him. Next batter had a sac fly. It was 1 out. It was maybe 1 out. That would have made it 2 outs. The next batter had a sac fly. Now they're up 4-2, and the whole game changed after that. And then they scored 3 runs late when we were pressing, trying to play different defenses, whatever. But it was really 4-2 at that point. It should have been 2-2. But again, if I walked, I think one other guy that inning also. I wasn't on my game, and that's what happens,
Yeah, it's funny. Even the second game, I think both games, at the end of the day, both games' scores were very differential. But even the second game, when Archie was up there, base loaded 2 outs, he hit a nice shot. It was hit hard. It was hit in the gap and sliced. But Adam makes that play 9 out of 10 times, at least in my opinion. Like, I don't know, maybe it was the win, maybe it was the route he took. Adam makes that play. Yeah.
From my angle, and I was on
You
the
mean
first
on Archie's hit?
I didn't think he had any shot. I thought it was amazing he got even close to it. I thought it was a perfectly hit shot. It was. I thought maybe he played him a little shallow, if anything, but it was slicing away from him. The wind was blowing hard. I don't know. I think that was a tough play. I didn't think he had any shot.
It looked a little awkward. It was a great shot. It was hit to the gap. It just look back at the video, it looked a little bit of an awkward. It wasn't your routine slicing over the ball, he was like sort of coming in on it, and maybe you have to, maybe the wind was moving the ball. I don't know. But like, if that play's made, it's a 1-run game. That was a 1-run game. It was 3-2, I think, or 2-1, but the bases loaded 2 outs, and the bases made 3-2, and the bases clearing double made it a 4-run game, and then the next inning, a 3-run home run made it a 7-run game. Yeah. So it ended up being, I think, an 8-1 final or something like that. But it was 2-1 in the 5th inning with the bases loaded 2 outs. So like,
I just felt that game we were just so out of sync because of the way the game was going, that it felt, even when they were up 2-1, it just didn't feel right. The game. I mean, we felt we were in the game. We had a shot. We should have won, but we just weren't. We weren't sharp at any aspect of the game at that end. We weren't hitting. We weren't getting good at bats. Like, we have, our lineup is stacked. That may be as good of a lineup as I've seen in any of these leagues. And I pitch against most of these guys. I play with most of these guys, and they get much better at bats than that. And we played Yossi a couple of weeks before that, and we hit him very well in the regular season. Guy just, it's one of those nights. It's baseball season, right? Some nights you win, some nights you lose. I think we run that back 80% of the time. We win, and just happened those 2 times we lost back to back, and we just didn't. And it really starts with the pitching. I don't think I pitched my game, and I don't think Ash pitched his game, and Yossi did pitch well. So when you have that advantage right off the bat, it makes a huge difference.
Now, I have a question for you about the pitching. I'm not an A-League guy, and I was asking Avi about this the other day.
You did play an A-League game this past spring, Dave.
I guess I'm an A-League guy. Yeah, that's true. And I was on the precursor to most sports Melee Machines roster, although I didn't play in the playoffs. I didn't play in the playoffs when I think I might have played in the first round of the playoffs, and they pinch hit for me down by like 4 in the 7th inning, and I'm like, I'm not so needed on this team, because they had a theory, if my guy would get on and then like the next 2 guys would get on, like Zinn would come up with the bases loaded. So it was like
funny, after that game we didn't lose another game the rest of the playoffs.
I know, I remember. You guys won like 3 or 4 in a row. So the 2 pitcher thing, like there's this idea that you must have 2 pitchers, and I don't really get it. I'm not sure I get it if you really need 2 pitchers, and I also wonder if it confuses things. This doesn't directly relate to the point, but I don't know. I'm just wondering why you need you and Ash on a roster is my question. And if you have the ball game too, you just pitch these guys a few nights before game 1. I know sometimes, like in the major leagues, they say, I think familiarity usually is to the hitter's advantage, but I'm not quite sure it is that way at the softball level.
So there's 2 reasons why you would want to have 2 pitchers on the roster. Reason 1 is because, especially in a fall league where I knew I wasn't going to be able to be at a lot of the games, so I told, so we obviously need a second pitcher. Ash, so we asked Ash to play, as well as Matt. We wanted to get Matt and that whole thing. Also, the question is, you're playing a doubleheader. and you're really playing for the playoffs, right? Regular season, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. But in the playoffs, would you rather have a fresh game one pitcher and then a fresh game two pitcher? Both of them are A-League quality top pitchers. Or do you want one guy going 14 innings? And what happens if he's not on his game 100%? And what happens if he gets tired in the middle of the second game? I've done both. I personally don't think it makes that big a difference to me. Like I feel strong going 2 games, but if you look at my record, I think even in the spring league, the first game against in the championship they didn't do anything. I think they scored 1 run, maybe, right? And then the second game was when it was like a 5-3 game. And then game 3 was a 2-1 game, which if we make one play in the bottom of the 7th, it's a 2-1 victory. So you can make a good case that having a fresh second pitcher who's of the quality of a guy like Daniel Ash makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Avi. Sorry.
No, something I'll bring up on that point. I think to Steve's point a little bit is, and I love Yossi. Yossi's awesome, and he's been dominating, and I would say arguably he's been the best pitcher of the last 2 seasons in HSL, just from his winning perspective. But if you look at Yossi's record, when Yossi faces the same team twice on the second half of a doubleheader, he gets knocked around pretty bad a lot of the times. He'll have second games where he'll pitch really well, but like when he faced Steve's team in the doubleheader in the regular season, he got very much knocked around. And I think there was also one other game or one other night during the season where he had a doubleheader, and the second game he also got knocked around. So it also, like you said, when you're pitching like the same pitcher 2 games in a row against the same team, especially a team that has, full of A-League caliber hitters, I think it's a massive advantage to the hitting teams to leave the same, no matter how good the pitcher is, to leave him in both games.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Especially if you look at Yossi. What makes Yossi great is that he wins a lot of these games when he doesn't have his A stuff. And like for a perfect example of that, it was in the spring. We played in game 1 and 2. He came in for Diamondstein after in the middle of game 1, and then game 2. I don't particularly think he was on that day. He didn't have his fastball at all. He was, but he's very smart. He knows how to mix it up. He knows how to locate. So on a day when he doesn't have his best stuff, he still can win because he's just that smart and that precise with what he's trying to do. But when you see that over and over again for 10 innings, 11 innings, especially with guys like Adam Hoffman and Glenn Zuckerman and Elimelech Spurl, I mean, these guys, we go down the whole lineup. It's crazy. Matt, eventually there's only so much guile a guy can have. They're going to figure that out. And if you don't have that pitch to put him away, it's tough. So it makes sense. But if you're able to go 2 games, like Ash pitched 2 games in the championship in the spring, he won in the other night league, and he won. He swept his championship, and then in the Young Israel, I pitched both games against 2 different teams though, in the semifinals and championship, and we won both those games. So I get I wonder if you really looked at the analytics behind it, what makes sense. It's probably an argument for both ways, but I would think that the case of having one fresh guy when you have quality like that for each game, especially if one guy doesn't have it, like Dynasty didn't have it, like that morning game, the first game against us, you brought in Yossi, he was able to stop the bleeding a little bit, and I really think that helped them win game 2 because if we win that game 7-8-0 instead of, I forgot what the score was, 3-1 or 5, whatever it was, but if it's 8-0 instead of that, it mentally, especially when you're a favorite going into a game, it mentally it shoots you down. And now you look at it like, okay, Yossi came in, he settled the game down. These guys didn't score for 4 or 5 innings. We're good game 2. Like I'm sure that's what they were saying in their dugout. Like we got these guys. Yossi has their number, and they didn't do anything against Yossi. We got them game 2. But if Yossi comes in and we score 4 or 5 runs, it might deflate them a little bit. So it definitely helps having the second pitcher. I personally think it's an advantage.
Okay, I guess it didn't matter because there was no game 3, but I don't know. I was just wondering about the dynamics of especially because their other team had that controversy. They had that controversy in the spring. I just wonder if it's a little unsettling to a team.
Well, they had three
Like
pitchers.
when you have your, they had 3 pitchers. Right,
that was a
They
problem.
had 3 pitchers. Right, that was a problem. Okay. And did your team have? Do you think CBS Alliance had too many stars at the plate? Like
No.
Kaufman. No, somebody was saying that Kaufman was like my number. What did he say? My number 4 hitter. He's like, I only have 2 hitters on my team that would crack their starting 10. That's what he said. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, hitters.
He said only
2 or
Eichhorn.
3. He said 2 or 3. He said Race, Archie, and was that it?
I think there's one more.
Stadner's a really good hitter. They have good hitters, so they're solid.
No, they have not. I think his point was they have very good hitters. But I think his point was only 2 or 3 are better than the 10 that you guys are batting.
Yeah. So baseball is not basketball. Basketball, you have one ball, you have 5 guys on the court. You need 5 guys to play different roles, right? You need a guy who's a shooter. You need a guy who can handle the ball, who can distribute. You need unselfishness. You watch the Celtics play, the way they move the ball around and everything. Like, you can't have 5 guys that just want to score 35 points a game. It's just not. It's never going to work. Baseball is an individual sport. I want 10 guys on my team hitting 800. Like it doesn't affect. It doesn't help. Yeah. Do you want guys that can move the ball over if they have to and make smart outs? Yeah, but you could do that with superstars also. It's just they make better smart outs. I'd much rather have Shuey Offen batting 10th than whoever we had in the spring. For sure. Come on.
Right.
That guy's a number 5 hitter.
Yeah, I think Stetner was that 3rd guy that Kaufman was saying.
Stetner's a great hitter, professional, smart hitter.
Yeah, he's a great player. Stetner actually won 2 championships. Stetner was one of the A-League subs for the Legacy League, and he won a championship with Precision Writers in the
Oh, really? He was on that team?
He was a sub. Yeah, he was a sub. Yeah, that was one of the cutest teams I've ever seen in softball. It was the 11th and 12th grade high school team, 5 towns. What the yeshiva called again? I forget.
I don't know.
They won the championship.
They should play in the A-League next year.
And varsity, and they played like 7 of them and like 3 of their dads. Hershkowitz, Stetner, and I forgot the last one.
Yeah, Gestetner's a real pro. He's a winning player. You have guys that can win because they know how to hit. They know what to do. They're smart. They don't try to do too much. He's a professional player. I played with Shmuel many times. I love playing with him.
What were you gonna say, Dave, about that we should do what with the
I was going to say, 2 ideas. One is Precision Writers should play next fall if they're around in the A-League. This would fit the model of, that people like Steve have been advocating for.
They played in the A-League. They played in the RSK tournament, that team, and they knocked off Diamonds. I know Diamondstein would say that a lot of their guys weren't there, but they knocked off Diamondstein's team in the playing game. They lost to us in the first round, but it was a 5-2, 5-3.
Yeah, so throw them right in there. They won the championship, and also they plowed through a couple of teams good teams in the B League.
Yeah,
I heard a lot of them are going to Israel next year, though.
Yeah, probably.
That's a shame.
There are a lot of 12th graders there that are going to Israel. They're probably not going to be around in the fall.
Oh, that's a shame. Okay. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say, speaking of B Leaguers, Steve, did you get a chance to? Oh, you'd probably faced him already. Goldenberg. I think Goldenberg is a huge asset to.
Goldenberg's phenomenal. He played he played in the Sunday morning in the other league, in the Sunday morning league for years. Shortstop for Ariel's team. He's as good defensively as anybody in any league. He's up, if not the best. He's definitely top 2 or 3 shortstops defensively. He's a pesky hitter. He's not a great hitter, but he's not an automatic out. And he's smart.
He's very fast.
I would take that guy on my team any day.
Can he beat out any day? Did he beat out any balls to third base? That's one of his moves also. That he
tries to do the little check swing thing. It doesn't work as well with better pitchers and better fielders.
He didn't hit. He was pinch hit for it, I think, in the game.
He didn't hit. Yeah, he didn't. In the last game, he slotted. He didn't hit. I'm not sure if he hit game 1. He wasn't there game 1, but game 2 he slotted. He didn't.
He's not a B player. He's not a B league player. He's an A. He's a top A league. He's a top 3 to 5 defensive player in the A league. I mean,
right,
without question.
And because of his speed, he's definitely he's not a top A league hitter. He might not even be above average, but his speed just makes him a threat every time at the plate.
Yeah.
Like one little bobble from an infielder and he's on base. He's incredibly fast.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if I don't know what the plans are for the spring with if Ariel's actually going to come to the A League or not, and if
He has to. He doesn't have a choice.
so. Okay, so I was going to say I think Goldenberg is a huge asset for Kaufman, but I guess he might be on Ariel's team.
It's funny. I was speaking to Kaufman about that, and Kaufman said that Ariel would have his head if he gets if he takes Goldenberg, continues the Goldenberg onto his team. I don't think Kaufman needs Goldenberg. I mean, he has Archie at third, and he has
Ari Stowers is a shortstop. Stowers is a
at
shortstop.
short.
He's very good.
Shortstop.
Yeah,
He's
excellent.
Yossi's good. Yossi's fine on the left side of the field. Let Ariel take Goldenberg.
All right, so let's talk a little more broadly now. Steve, you've played a lot of softball in your time. It's the end of a year, of a softball year. I was never so involved in softball in my life. And you guys are used to playing 4 seasons. And my head is spinning from softball. I'm happy to have a break where I, have no games that I'm signed up for a few months. There's a part of me which wants to join the basketball league, but I think I'm just going to sit it out.
Mm-hmm.
What are you general thoughts about softball in the area? General thoughts about the HSL advice? I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
No, it's great. I think you guys reinvigorated life into some of this stuff. I think the rivalries are always great. I think that Yossi, as much as I hated losing to him, them winning really makes things better from a league perspective, because it shows you that you don't have to be the best player at every position to win a championship. You just have to play well as a team, have good pitching, good defense, and any day anyone can win. So there's no such thing as like the whole Ariel excuse, like, oh, like we can't compete. Like maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. Ariel's good enough pitcher that they're going to be in games. They have good enough defense, pretty much. I mean, they have some holes, but they're good enough defensively that they can that they can compete. They could use a couple of bats, but you have to start somewhere. So would you rather win every game 10-0, 12-0, 13-1, or go into a league that maybe next year you're not going to win, but in 2-3 years from now, yeah, you'll have a shot. So to me, that's I always wanted to play against the best and be the best. And now I think that victory by Yossi's team, I don't know, I call him Yossi's team because I don't know what their name is, and I'm not going to call him Archie's team because I don't want to give him the hana. so
Archie's in it. I don't really know Archie too well, but he doesn't. He becomes a leader sort of through the back door. He can't. It doesn't seem to me like he could actually put a team together and manage the day-to-day hack of a team. But then once the team's getting going, he's like, people look up to him. That's my sense. Do I have that right? Or
yeah, I've never seen Archie.
Archie's not an operation. Archie's not an operational guy, but he's a phenomenal player. So whenever you're a great player, you already have some panache in the locker room, right? Like you're a guy, and then he's very personable. He has a great personality. So he could talk to guys, and he's very smart, understands the game. So on the field, he sees things that most guys may or may not see, that he's able to, and he's not scared to speak his voice, which is important for a guy who's usually going to be one of the top 2-3 guys on the team anyway. There's certain guys on the field, they're the guy, and then there's certain guys in the background. They're able to put things together, and it's very rare you have both. Like Sach Felberg, who I've had the privilege of playing with for years on different leagues and against. He does a lot. He's very good at both. He's incredibly organized, getting teams together, and he's also great at the field of making the right decisions, putting the right players in the right spots, and making sure people are okay with sacrificing what's best for the team. And that's not always easy. And he does that in a great way, but you don't have that very often. There's very few guys that do that. Koenig's another one that can do that. But there's very few guys that can be behind the scenes and on the field. Like it's not easy.
Yeah, no, I hear that. So you said it reinvigorated the league in some ways. Any constructive feedback that you have?
No, just keep building and keep promoting it and keep doing these kind of things. I think people like to hear people's perspectives and they like to see them. They like to see their videos and their highlights and all that stuff. It's especially the young guys. You see from the basketball league.
I think we should really try to incorporate, and Sach was very adamant about this. The second he lost the championship, He's like, this might be it for me. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it again. It's like, maybe I'll join your umpiring staff. I'll reach out to Dom. But then right after that, he said one thing you should be adamant about in the spring. He said you should force and make it like if you don't do this, you're out of the league thing. Every captain to download Game Changer and use that for your stats, because then you don't need the whole taking the stats, transferring over to the guy. Everything's in there. It's my team and my Muncie, they use it for a long time. It is fairly simple. Like, it's not, once you learn it, it's fairly simple how to use. And I really think we should really put into play actual awards. Like Muncie does. They have a Cy Young award.
For sure. We were supposed to. Steve won the Cy. Steve won the Cy Young for the spring. We just didn't give him anything.
But I want it to be more of an actual, like, event type of thing, where before, like in Muncie, it's very cool. Before the game, before his official last game, so let's say you're down 1-0 in the playoffs or up 1-0 in the playoffs, and you either might sweep championship or might lose, you present them with the commissioner, present them a trophy, and, same thing with MVP and Silver Slugger. They do 3 awards: MVP, Silver Slugger, Cy Young. I think it's really, really cool. I think it's a really cool thing, and I think one of the ways to really help enforce that and to show everyone, oh wow, he is Cy Young, is by enforcing this Game Changer app. All the stats are in front of you. First of all, we save money because the Game Changer app is like $5 a month. You don't got to pay anybody to take the stats and whatever. And everyone has a smartphone nowadays, and it's fairly simple. I know there are some people who love the writing it down on the scorecards and stuff like that, but also you can follow games live, which is really cool also. A lot of times you have games going on at the same time. One team's playing, you need another team to lose, or a game going on at 10 o'clock. Like, you can follow the game on the app. It's really, really cool. It's a very, very cool app that I used. And I really think if we get all the captains on board, I think it will really help.
So the only issue I have with that, I like from the front part of it. It's great. The problem is that you have every captain is going to be doing it, right? So I know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
I know in the past when we've had this stuff, and I was running, I do the stats for my team, and I'm, giving guys, E6 on the play that another captain, every single play is a hit. End of the season, the guy hit 650 and our guy hit 620, and our guy clearly would have won the batting title if I was as liberal with the scorekeeping as the other guy was. So that's the only issue of making awards based on captains keeping their own stats.
Right.
But theoretically, the idea makes sense. Theoretically, the idea makes sense.
Yeah, also because when you have both teams, the way it works on Game Changer is that you put the whole schedule in, and when you have both teams doing the app at the same time, it automatically calculates the full pitching line also. Yeah. So, like, you see the exact pitching line, everything, not just hits, strikeouts, walks, ERA. It's everything. All these stats that you could think of in MLB is all on there.
Yeah.
Also, it shows your spray chart as a hitter.
Yeah, it's funny though, cool. Avi, what Steve was mentioning though. There's a guy, I'm not going to say who, in the summer league, who was telling me that he was hitting like 700. And I've watched this guy play, and I know he was not hitting 700. I believe he might have gotten a bunch of lucky errors. And, in a relatively short season, and he's like, I'm leading the league in hitting. And you had guys in the summer league who were really good hitters, like you, Avi. And, I was like, there is no way he's hitting 700. And then I played a game against him, and he's like, oh, I went 4 for 4 yesterday. I'm like, you had a sack fly and like, I don't know, like a couple of errors. I don't know what it was. I was like, you did not go 4 for 4. He's like, yes, I did. It's in the scorebook. So I don't know what the guy ended up finishing the season with, but
I guess that's an issue. I guess that's an issue. I guess that's an issue also. Anybody can put the stats in, can put the stats in all they want. Yeah. So I guess that's an automatic. But I hear not to go strictly based off stats. I just think it's cool to have something in front of you. Also, like you said, this whole spray chart thing, I find it really cool. Like, you see how many of your hits go to right field, center field, and left field. You see your BABIP, your OB. It's just very cool. It's a lot of stats you wouldn't necessarily have.
So, like it's
another somewhat.
I'm so sorry. It goes back to what I said with the highlights. It makes it more real. Like with the highlights, it makes it more real. Like, you have stats, you have jerseys, you have highlights, you have all these different things. It makes the league more real. When a league is more real, it makes it more fun, makes it more competitive, makes it more interesting. And, it gets, like, I know the Young Israel League, it's kind of like, been all over the place for years. And Jordan Heller took it over, and he started, like, doing write-ups in the paper every week and getting more serious with different things. And people like that. They just like you guys should do that also, by the way. You should do the highlights. It gets people more,
I agree,
like, involved in life. If you have, it's just a fun kind of idea. I don't know.
We had Sam Sun on, and he said hype is everything. He said hype. He said hype. He's
especially
like
these
everything is
days.
hype. You know, you gotta hype.
Everything is
Especially these
about,
days. Yeah, it's true.
today's is about, the clip, the highlight, the short, the Instagram thing, the WhatsApp status,
For
all the
sure.
young guys. That's what they all look.
At
So
the HSL, we love the short. The short
yeah,
is key for us here at the HSL.
Yeah, so what we figured out is that our YouTube short views go up like crazy because they drop it into random people's feeds.
yeah.
So they're not going to feed this podcast to some random guy in Texas who's looking for basketball highlights, but they will for shorts. So now our YouTube channel has over 50,000 views, and that's good
Wow,
for marketing purposes. Yeah,
amazing.
the
The shorts
individual
get between 500 and 1,500 views on average. It's pretty
pretty
incredible.
much, yeah. Whereas the podcasts get between 75 and the most
200,
200. Then the really
300,
popular
400,
ones, Evan
900,
Roberts.
900 one.
That was just the Shorts brothers who have a big
Yeah.
following. So yeah, we figured out YouTube Shorts are our friend because it makes the whole brand look bigger. But on a more something that me and Avi have been wondering about a lot is the weeknight leagues. A lot of people have come to us and say, purchase these leagues from Ariel. So he said Ariel's leagues, he's doing a great job. But I guess my question is like Avi says like Sunday morning is a lot harder to recruit for. He says the night leagues are like people just want to come. It's after work. It doesn't take. Sorry, you get home from work, come out, you play some ball. It's recreational. Sunday morning is a
Especially
real.
the summer. The summer, everyone's families are upstate. People are dying to play soft. People are dying to get out and play.
Yeah. So my question is not so much whether we should look into that. My first question is like, how do you see the difference between the night leagues and the Sunday morning league? You've been doing this stuff a long time, and I think playing in both for a long time.
For some reason, the Sunday morning league is not as competitive, is not as dense in terms of player, talent, top talent, tier talent. Like you don't have it. A lot of guys, first guys don't like to wake up early in the morning. That's especially the younger guys. Young Israel League just got better this year. The last 2 years have been better. Got better talent. I don't know what that's, why, but it's been better the last couple of years than was the years before that. Our spring league got better because, Dynasty brought in that team, and Avi and you, David, recruited guys and got things better. I think if there was a good product, people will come. Now the question is why are people wanting to play Sunday morning and not Tuesday night and not Sunday morning? I don't know. I think a lot of it,
You don't know.
I think a lot of it's people just don't want to get up early. I think that has a lot to do with it for some crazy reason. I'm a morning guy, so maybe I don't get it. I don't. To me, when you go to a 7:30 minion, I feel like I missed the whole day. It's
What time are you going to sleep at night?
same 11, 12, whatever. I just I like to be up. I like to get out and go.
Early bird catches the worm. All right, so now let's shift gears a little bit. We have a few more minutes. I know we've been keeping you for a while. Want to talk to you about the big basketball game, the
Sure.
Rumble in Little Neck, or I need a sexier name for that. It's Little Neck, right? Hartora? Is it Little Neck, Avi? What's it called?
Yeah. I think officially it's not. It's right next to Little Neck.
Common Point was Little Neck, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 minutes from Common Point. I think officially it's considered. I forget. It's it's the reason why I know it's not Little Neck is because unfortunately I've given there's two Hartoras and one is in Little Neck and one is right outside of Little Neck.
Jamaica States, maybe, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately I've given a couple people the actual Little Neck address.
You gave them the wrong address.
May or may not have given it to my wife as well, and it takes you to a random school that's now a church, and it's 15 minutes away, and it's very unfortunate.
I'm looking on Google Maps.
It's right outside Little Neck. It's right there. It's literally 3-4 minutes from Little Neck, but there's two Arturo locations. The one we use is in I forget where it is, but it's right there.
Anyway, so that was I went to the game Sunday night. It was the first basketball game I went to. Just to our audience. It's a lot of fun, the basketball games. I had a few celebrity sightings there. I saw Steve Pollan. I saw Mike Doob. But the vibes are really great. The intensity is great also in the gym. So I hope to make it to some more games. It's a good time. But anyway, so those of you who know, Steve's son, Caleb, who's a fantastic player, was on the losing side of this big matchup against Link Home Care. And I found out recently that Steve actually coached a lot of the guys who are on Under 5'10 Pipe Doctor. So I was curious for his analysis on the game.
So I think as a team, what's the other team's name? The guys who won?
Link Home Care.
Link. So Link they're very well. You can tell they've been playing together for years. They have roles. Everyone does what they're supposed to do. You have this. You have the guy who handles the ball is a fantastic player, number 8. I don't know what his name is.
Wasser.
Wasser is a very good player. He's smart. He takes over the game when he needs to. You had the big man who dominated inside and played his role. And then number 10, I don't know his name, is also a very good player.
And then Jacoby is the other guy, the other scorer at a couple.
Who's number 10, right? Who's number 10, Avi?
Jacoby.
Very good player, very smart. Everything's in control. And then they have a couple of guys that just, they go to their spots, they play good defense, and they make their shots. I think under 5'10" pipe doctors have probably more overall. You also forget they were missing Ari Hoffman, who's probably their best player, or at least up there, especially on
all-around player. I would say the best all-around player.
Yeah, especially because he brings a lot of size and energy and things that they were clearly missing against that team. And Ari may have shaped the game in a different way. They were all over the place in terms of, like, it's almost like they came into the game very ego driven and everyone trying to show that they're the guy, and they didn't play as a team. They were forcing dribbles into areas that never should be forced into. They were not moving the ball around. They were forcing shots that just didn't make any sense. I think now that they've gone through it once, and if assuming, they play as a team and everyone does what they're supposed to do in a role and they accept that, I think it could be very competitive. I didn't see anything there that if I was coaching either one of those teams that I wouldn't feel overly confident that that the same result's going to happen if I'm on Link. Although I would be confident because I do have an advantage with the fact that they play more as a team and you have, really good players that know how to play the role and they're very disruptive, especially the big guy. But if I were, but on the other side, I think they have enough talent. They have more than enough talent to compete. They just gotta stay in their roles, and each guy's got to do what they do best, and not try to force things that aren't their games. I'll leave it at that.
It seemed a little bit to me like under 5'10" pipe doctor sort of came into the game with the mentality, which isn't such a crazy mentality, but the mentality that they're just going to run them out of the gym. They're faster, they're more athletic, they're hard to believe, hard to say it, but they're even a little bit younger overall. But it seemed like they're just going to run them out of the gym. It seemed like, and like Steve was saying, they had a lot of times where they just dribbled the ball up the court and ran right into 3 people and just lost the ball. The turnover ratio under 5'10" pipe doctor. I think, as Mr. Doob pointed out, I think Link had 2 turnovers the whole game. That's insane. That's like not normal in a Jewish basketball 5-on-5, 32-minute game to have 2 turnovers is crazy.
Yeah, and I think they were just trying to do too much. Like each guy was just trying to do too much, which at the end of the day, when you do, baseball, like we talked before, baseball, I could want to, if I'm hitting, I can hit, I want to hit as best as I can and do everything I can to my abilities because it doesn't affect anybody else, right? Like if I hit a 3-run homer, or if I hit a 2-run double in the gap, or if I hit a line drive up the middle, like that doesn't affect the next guy, the guy before me, in a negative way. Whereas if I'm a guy who's a great distributor of the ball, and now I'm forcing shots, it makes the offense stale. It kind of like stalls everything and makes guys upset. Like, we're supposed to be moving the ball around. And there was way too much of that from a lot of guys. Just guys just head down, let me try to take this guy off the dribble. And even when they were able to take the guy off the dribble, these guys know how to play defense. So there was another layer that you had to compete with. And usually that layer consisted of a guy 6'4", 6'5", whatever he was, that isn't just tall, but knows how to play defense. He has good footwork. His hands are in the right places. I think even some of his fouls that were called against him were a little questionable in terms, like he got into foul trouble, which I didn't even think some of those fouls were even fouls. You got to play as a team. You got to move the ball around. Yeah, they're more athletic, and yeah, they may have individual more talent if you take 1 through 8 overall, but you have to use that talent in the right way, and that's by swinging the ball and getting open shots and making them play your game rather than you going right into their strengths, which is what they did. They
So
yeah. And with that being said, if they I know you guys spoke about like it was after the first blitz, it was pretty even after that. And it was, and not only that, that it was
After
even
the first 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah. So something's like, listen, there's something to be said about that also. You know, you take your foot off the gas as well once you're leading by that much. So, but under 5-10 pipe doctors came back.
I was nervous.
Yeah.
I was very nervous. 16-3 in the first 3 minutes. I was nervous that this was going to be a 75-40 game. Yeah. Thank God
they came back and they went within 5, and then for some inexplicable reason they made a couple of substitutions, which to me made no sense at the time, because the team they had out there was actually finally doing the things you want to see as a team and moving the ball and passing up shot, driving to the lane, kicking him out for better shots. Dube had a lot of much better looks during that run than he did the rest of the game. I thought, what's his name? Levine was a big part of that for, that's his name, right? Levine? I thought he made Levine. A couple of really smart plays, taking guys off the dribble, dishing it out, not forcing anything. He was very impressive. I like the way he played a lot. I don't know if he's the most talented player in the world.
I think Yoni Levine is his name. The reason why I know the name so much is because, and I'll plug it right here, is that Baruch Hashem, in the last week or two, I think our basketball league has really gained a lot of traction, mostly due to Link Home Care and also a little bit of Caleb Pollan's under 5'10" pipe doctor. We've actually attracted this Bukharian team that's supposedly phenomenal, that committed already for the winter. And there's a second Bukharian team who's not as talented, but also really talented, who also wants to play because they're hearing of these top teams in this league that we have. And there's another big Bukharian league in the community, but they want to play with us because they know that they hear of these Ashkenaz teams that are great. So I was speaking to Caleb yesterday, and I thought it's a no-brainer, the running back in the winter, and Caleb was telling me how much he's obsessed with the league and he loves what we're doing. He said, and he has 3-4 guys committed, but he said, because of the talent that we have in our league, he doesn't want to run it back if a couple of the guys who are their top players like Dube, and he mentioned Yoni Levine, they're still unsure, so they're not going to be able to run it back with them. He doesn't think it's worth it to run it back just to get blown out. So if we're on the topic, Yoni Levine, if you ever watch this, or my boy Dube, I know you're going to be watching this, run it back. Let's see what happens this season first. But we got something good going here. It's the first season. We have 8 teams. We have these Bukharian teams thinking that, who are these Ashkenaz kids are owning the world. Let's go beat them. Come in, run it back, join us. It's going to be phenomenal. We'll have 2 tiers in the winter. Just a little plug. All right, go ahead.
I think Ari just got married. I think he's actually in Israel, so he's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be around.
Yes, he mentioned that also. So that's why he said he needed Dube to replace Ari, and he needs Levine to commit. Caleb, people, you're a popular guy. You'll get the team together. You get the squad. You need 3 games to qualify for the playoffs. It's not a rostered league. You don't need a roster of 12. You'll make it work. Come back in the winter. Help
Ari and Duke. I think you need both of them.
I agree. They did compete, though. They did compete without Hoffman.
I have a question. I'm not such a big basketball guy. One of the things I noticed is that under 5'10" pipe doctor couldn't get the ball inside much, probably because of their big center all swing. But if they're swinging the ball around, like you're saying, Steve, does that create more opportunity inside also?
I mean, so first off, why do you have to go inside so much?
I don't know.
So
I would just think statistically, my quick answer would be it's easier to get the ball in when you're 6 feet away than 16 feet away.
So modern day basketball analytics tell you that it's either a layup dunk or a 3-pointer.
Right.
The mid-range game.
Okay, so you know what? I haven't watched basketball since the Knicks of the late 90s and early O's. And the Knicks stunk for 20 years, so I fell out of the sport, but I gotta start watching again.
But to answer your question is, if I'm driving with my head down and I'm going through 3 guys and then there's another guy there, I'm driving into a brick wall. If I'm moving the ball around, I'm making them move. And now instead of Jaron getting a ball that he has 3 guys on him for a layup, he's going up 1-on-1 or maybe 1-on-none, and he has a much easier chance to get to score. So even inside, if you're moving the ball, you're making them move. If you're not moving the ball, and they were doing a lot of this under 5'10" pipe doctors, they were driving towards the middle into the lane, which doesn't help anybody because then it's all a cluster. Like you're driving into one small area. But if you're swinging the ball back and forth, going baseline out this way, and you're hitting your shots, Dube's a great shooter. He's a great scorer. But unless you're Steph Curry, when you're taking the degree of difficulty of shots that he had to take, because he wasn't getting the ball in good places, not his fault. I mean, he's trying, he's moving, but they just weren't they weren't running smart plays for him. And Now, if you give him the ball in open space or 3-point shots that are more or less open, he's going to kill the other team. And
Yeah.
it just opens up. And then also now their center can't just sit there in the middle of the lane and wait for someone to drive into him. Now he's got to come out, and you come out, and other guys are going to have opportunities. So watch the Celtics play. Watch the Celtics play and how they move the ball. And
are you a Celtics fan? Are you a Celtics fan also? Because I know. How did that happen? Coming from Kew Garden, Pashadiyid from Kew Garden Hills, rooting for the Celtics.
In the '70s, a long story, but I got my father was a big Knicks fan, and the Knicks were awful when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. And he said, but he was a big basketball. He used to get like Basketball Digest all the time. So I remember like JoJo White was on the cover once. I loved the whole thing about it. And then that Sunday, John Havlicek was playing like on the CBS game of the week. There was only like one game like on the to watch back then. They didn't have like 50 channels and League Pass. And I just loved him. I just loved the way he was. He was like running. He was playing like the way you would want to get a guy just all over the court, diving for balls, like heart everywhere. And at the same time, like a year or two later, Larry Bird was in college, which I just loved him in Indiana State. And then my father told me, back then you were able to draft in college. Celtics had his rights. And my father was like, that guy's a Celtic next year. I'm like, what? So then once Larry Bird came, I was locked.
So are you the
He's
one
like my favorite athlete of all time.
Are you the one funding Caleb's trips to Boston for those big games? Because I saw on his Instagram that he made it to some top.
He went to the championships. Yeah, he went to game 2, I think, this year.
Oh, it was game 2? Okay, yeah. All right, that's really great. All right, last question for you before we wrap. If you're not pitching and you're a general manager, you become Sach Feldberg, you're general manager of a team. Who's pitching a big game for you, Yossi Kaufman or Daniel Ash?
I still take Ash, I think. I don't know. It's tight. You know why? Because we all have this recency bias, right?
Yes.
But people forget that the season right before that, Ash dominated the whole league. He pitched. I think in the playoffs they gave up nothing. And he pitched both games, and they won.
He had a stretch of 28 innings, allowing 1 run.
Yeah, I mean, so did he? The fall, he was not on the fall at all. He just had a bad season in general. He just was not him. But if he's on, you're gonna have a very tough time to beat him. His upside is higher than.
By on, Steve means walking guys. If Ash doesn't walk people, he's dominant. If Ash
it's not even walking guys. It's just control. His control wasn't on. So even when he wasn't walking guys, it was 3-1 counts. It gets the defense on their heels. But it's again, Yossi's great. You can't deny the success. The smart, like I said, if the upside with Yossi is that when he's on, he's great, and when he's not on, he's still really good. So
how did he do in the weeknight league? How did he do in the night league, Yossi?
They lost in the semis or in the championship, right?
They lost in the semis.
Yeah.
Well, I have my own bias, which is that I followed the HSL league closely and not that.
They lost to Ash, and he actually lost to Ash in the semis.
Yeah.
So there you go.
We beat the Lobos, and they lost to.
All right, so
it's a tough question, though. Yeah, it's a tough question.
Yeah. It's great. It's great hock. It's fun.
I take either one of them. Put it that way. I'd be happy with either one of them. Yeah.
Okay. I kind of enjoy how Kaufman's. I know now he's been around 5+ years, but at least in my mind, he kind of maybe because he wasn't playing Sundays. I know he's kind of emerged over the last year or so.
Yossi's been playing. Yeah. Yossi's been pitching for a while. I mean, he just got into this next level recently, but he's always been good. I remember he pitched for a team called Wexus in the night league. This is like probably 10, 12, 15, I don't even know how many years ago. And we beat them in the play. I actually threw a no-hitter against them in the playoffs. But it was like a 1-0, 2-0 game. And Yossi was really good back then also. And he but he was like inconsistent. Like he would have seasons where he was really good, and people were like, is this guy really good, or he's just like, is he getting lucky? And then other seasons, I think a lot of it, now that you look back at it, a lot of it had to do with, I don't care who you are, you're playing in 8 leagues, you have to have a good defense, and if you don't have a good defense behind you, it doesn't make a difference. You're not going to, like Ash pitched for the Young Israel League, and he pitched pretty well. But he's playing for a team that just doesn't have the kind of defense he has in the night league, so he didn't have the same success. And I've had that myself.
Yeah.
If I'm pitching with a team
I'm
that's
the biggest. I'm the biggest. I'm probably the most exposed pitcher without a good defense. When I have a great defense, I look like I'm up there with the best of the best. When I have a bad defense, I don't even belong in the conversation about A-League pitching.
Yeah.
Like I'm that. Like I agree 1,000%. That's like I need to play with a good defense. That's how I pitch. I pitch to a great defense.
But Yossi really matured. He's always had to throw hard. He throws a little harder now than he used to, but he has a much better grasp of a game plan now. He really knows how to pitch. So I think it's a little bit more than 5 years now. It's probably closer to 8-10 years.
Well, we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. We got we got to see with a couple of new teams trying to sneak their way into the Titan League in the spring. We got one kid who played on Ariel Cohen's Robins in the fall who claims he has a bunch of YU guys who are phenomenal softball players that he wants to get involved. So we'll see what happens. I'm trying to.
We had a couple of good teams,
but it seems like Levenger is a little bit.
You had a couple of good teams at night that were one or two players away from being really good. Also, like the team we beat in the semifinals was.
Team. I'm trying to get them. Yeah, they're very good. Also, I'm trying to get 6 teams, 6 just legit competitive. Really, I know the Blue Wahoos. They say this every year, but like Blisco told me, he's like, this year we're getting a lot better. He's like, last year was the first year that usually we're losing. We're not losing like really bad. This past year we lost really bad. But Blisco's like setting getting better players. So we'll see. I'm hoping we have 6 legit competitive, really good teams. I'm excited about that. And we got our basketball playoffs starting this week. We got the wild card game 1 on Sunday, wild card game 2 on Thursday, and then we got the semis and Caleb Pollan back in action in 2 Sundays from now. So. And the following Thursday with championships. Then we're starting with winter basketball. So a lot of fun stuff coming ahead here at the HSL. We're looking forward.
God willing, I'll come watch the.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Yeah, come watch the playoffs. It'll be great.
Yeah, bring another celebrity with you. Maybe we could get Glenn. Maybe we could get Glenn Zuckerman down.
Doob is a legit celebrity though. He's like a legendary. So if you get him on a podcast, you'll get a lot of views. He's a legend.
He's coming on. He agreed to come.
Yeah, I need to hit him up. He gave me.
He's
his
great. Just let him talk.
Nice guy.
He'll run the whole. He'll talk the whole hour. Whatever you need. He'll just let him go.
All right, Steve. Thanks a lot for coming on. And thanks for your support as always. You really appreciate having having an elderly player of the community.
Yeah.
Having an elder statesman is the word I was looking for. Elder statesman support our efforts goes.
Oh, good.
I'm surprised Archie, when he was trash talking you the whole podcast, I'm surprised he didn't tell you to join an over 50 league.
I beat
Steve, we're starting.
Archie forgot to beat him 2-0 in the championship in the Young Israel League. That all of a sudden got forgotten. Like, it was only 2 months ago. So maybe.
I did. I
memory issues. With the age and everything else.
All right, take care, Steve. Thank you.
All right, guys.